picture this a beautiful spring morning in this like picture-perfect town, New Canaan, Connecticut, the kind of place where you have these beautiful colonial homes, manicured lawns. And life just seems idyllic.
Yeah.
That's where Jennifer Dulos lived.
Right.
Successful writer, devoted mother of 5, seemingly living the American dream. But just like those, the dark side of those seemingly perfect towns, there's this hidden truth lurking beneath the surface of Jennifer's life.
Yeah.
And on May 24, 2019, Jennifer vanished. No trace.
Wow.
Dropped her kids off at school, just like a normal day, never returned home. What happened to Jennifer? It's a question that has haunted investigators, captivated the media, and left the community grappling with these unanswered questions.
Yeah.
Welcome to Crime Podcastle's Twisted Crime series.
It's a case that immediately draws you in, isn't it? That jarring contrast between that idyllic setting and then the chilling reality of a missing mother.
Yeah.
I mean, it really reminds us that even in the most seemingly perfect places, darkness can lurk beneath the surface.
Absolutely. And as we dive deeper into this case, you'll see just how complex and twisted it gets.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to explore the events leading up to Jennifer's disappearance, the key players involved, and the investigation that really captivated a nation.
Right.
But first, let's rewind a bit and get to know Jennifer Dulos.
Yeah.
The woman at the center of this whole mystery.
Yeah, it's crucial to remember that behind the headlines and the speculation, there was a real person.
Yeah.
Jennifer was a woman with dreams, passions,
Yeah.
a deep love for her children. She grew up in a prominent New York family, attended prestigious schools like Brown University and NYU.
Wow.
Possessed a sharp intellect, a gift for writing. She really found her voice through her words, sharing her thoughts and experiences through her writing. And ironically, it's that sudden silence surrounding her disappearance that amplifies the mystery of her story.
It's a powerful reminder that there's always more to a person than what meets the eye.
Yeah.
And in Jennifer's case, her marriage to Fotis Dulos, a Greek real estate developer, played a significant role in the events that unfolded.
This relationship between Jennifer and Fotis is a complex one.
Yeah.
From the outside, they appeared to be a successful couple.
Right.
But beneath the surface, there were cracks in the foundation of their marriage.
Oh, yeah?
In 2017, Jennifer filed for divorce, citing emotional abuse and erratic behavior from Fotis. And this decision, as you can imagine, set off a chain reaction that would have devastating consequences.
And at the heart of this chain reaction was a bitter custody battle over their 5 children. It's hard to imagine the emotional toll that must have taken on Jennifer.
The custody battle was incredibly contentious.
Right.
Jennifer expressed deep concerns for her children's safety and well-being, and those concerns became a central theme in the divorce proceedings.
Yeah.
She fought tirelessly to protect her children, which makes her sudden disappearance all the more unsettling.
It's like a dark cloud hanging over everything.
Yeah.
Knowing that Jennifer feared for her children's safety adds a whole new layer of complexity to the mystery.
It does.
But let's focus on the day everything changed.
Yeah.
May 24, 2019.
Seemingly ordinary morning, went about her routine, dropped her children off at school, but then vanished. No phone calls, no messages, no trace. It was as if she had simply disappeared into thin air.
It's chilling to think about.
Yeah.
You drop your kids off at school expecting to see them again later that day, and then nothing.
Her car was later found abandoned near a park.
Oh, wow.
And when investigators searched her home, they discovered something truly disturbing. Signs of a violent struggle.
Oh, no.
There were bloodstains, evidence of an attempted cleanup.
Oh, God.
All pointing towards something sinister having taken place.
Yeah.
This was no longer just a missing a person case.
Right.
It was now a potential crime scene.
It must have been a horrifying discovery for investigators and Jennifer's loved ones.
Oh, absolutely.
And with that discovery, the search for Jennifer Dulos became a race against time.
Absolutely. The initial hours and days of a missing person case are crucial.
Right.
And in Jennifer's case, the clock was ticking, the stakes were high, and the search for answers was just beginning.
So we have this idyllic town, a missing mother, and a crime scene. What happened next? Where did the investigation lead?
Well, as you might expect in a case like this, suspicion quickly fell upon those closest to Jennifer.
Right.
In this instance, her estranged husband, Fotis Dulos, and his then-girlfriend, Michelle Troconis, became central figures in the investigation.
That makes sense, but suspicion is one thing.
Yeah.
Did investigators find any concrete evidence linking them to Jennifer's disappearance?
They did, and it was this evidence that really turned the tide of the investigation.
Okay.
Surveillance footage captured Fotis and Michelle disposing of garbage bags in Hartford on the same day Jennifer vanished. Not just any garbage bags, mind you.
Yeah.
But bags containing items that were later linked directly to Jennifer and the crime scene.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
What exactly was in those bags that made them so incriminating?
The contents were chilling.
Oh, wow.
Investigators recovered clothing and cleaning supplies stained with Jennifer's blood.
Gosh.
It was a clear indication that someone had gone to great lengths to cover their tracks.
Right.
And to make matters worse, their attempt to dispose of these items was sloppy. Almost as if they were panicking.
Yeah.
This was a far cry from a carefully orchestrated disappearance.
It sounds like they were trying to cover up a crime in haste.
Right.
Did Fotis and Michelle offer any explanation for their actions?
Michelle Troconis initially denied any involvement in Jennifer's disappearance, but as the investigation progressed, her story began to unravel.
Okay.
She eventually admitted to witnessing Fotis cleaning a truck that day, a detail that contradicted her earlier statements and raised serious red flags.
It's almost as if they were digging themselves a deeper hole with every attempt to cover their tracks.
Yeah.
What about Fotis?
Yeah.
Did he maintain his innocence?
Fotis also proclaimed his innocence, offering various explanations for his actions and the evidence against him. But the mounting evidence, combined with inconsistencies in his alibi, made it increasingly difficult for investigators to believe his version of events.
So we have a missing mother, a crime scene, a bitter custody battle, and two individuals acting suspiciously and changing their stories.
Yeah.
It sounds like the pieces were starting to fall into place.
You're absolutely right, and the investigation continued to intensify, leading to a major turning point in the case. In the months that followed, both Fotis Dulos and Michelle Troconis were arrested.
Okay.
Initially, the charges were related to evidence tampering and hindering prosecution, but the investigation continued to probe deeper.
Okay, so they were arrested, but not for murder.
Right.
What was the legal strategy behind those initial charges?
Remember, this was a complex investigation, and prosecutors had to build a solid case. The charges of evidence tampering and hindering prosecution allowed them to secure arrests and detain Fotis and Michelle while they gathered more evidence. It was a strategic move to prevent them from fleeing or destroying additional evidence.
That makes sense, about the more time to build a stronger case.
Right.
But did they eventually charge Fotis with Jennifer's murder?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
In January 2020, nearly a year after Jennifer's disappearance, Fotis Dulos was formally charged with her murder.
Okay.
This was a significant development in the case, based on a culmination of forensic evidence, suspicious behavior, and witness testimony.
That's a major turning point.
Right.
So they finally had enough to charge him with murder.
Yes.
But if I remember correctly, this case has another twist.
You're absolutely right, and it's a twist that no one could have predicted. Just as the case seemed to be heading towards a trial, something shocking happened. While awaiting trial and facing mounting evidence against him, Fotis Dulos took his own life.
Wow.
He left behind a note proclaiming his innocence.
Wow.
But his death sent shockwaves through the community and left the case in a state of legal limbo.
It's hard to comprehend.
Yeah.
He was facing a murder charge, then chooses to take his own life, leaving behind even more questions.
Right.
Did his suicide affect the case against Michelle Troconis?
Yeah.
It certainly complicated things with Fotis gone.
Right.
The case against Michelle Troconis became even more challenging.
Yeah.
Prosecutors had to reevaluate their strategy, determine how to proceed without their primary suspect.
You can imagine the legal and ethical complexities of this situation.
Yeah.
On the one hand, Michelle was now the only living person directly linked to Jennifer's disappearance.
Right.
On the other hand, proving her involvement in a murder without the alleged mastermind to testify against her presented this, formidable challenge.
So what ultimately happened to the case against Michelle Troconis?
Right.
Was she ever convicted of any crimes related to Jennifer's disappearance?
No, she was never convicted of murder.
Wow.
Without Fotis to testify against her.
Right.
Prosecutors really struggled to establish her level of involvement in the crime.
Okay.
She ultimately entered into a plea deal, pleading guilty to lesser charges related to hindering prosecution and tampering with evidence.
That must have been incredibly frustrating for those who believed she played a more significant role in Jennifer's disappearance.
It was.
Is that a common outcome in cases where a key suspect dies before trial?
It's certainly a challenge that prosecutors face in these types of situations.
Yeah.
Without the ability to cross-examine the primary suspect and present a complete picture of the events,
Right.
it can be difficult to secure convictions on more serious charges.
It's a reminder that the justice system, while striving for fairness, is not without its flaws. But even with the legal case reaching a somewhat unsatisfying conclusion,
Right.
the search for Jennifer Dulos continued, right?
Absolutely. The search for Jennifer's remains became this relentless pursuit,
Yeah.
driven by the unwavering hope of bringing closure to her family and friends. Despite extensive searches by law enforcement, volunteers, and private investigators, Jennifer's body has never been found.
It's a heartbreaking reality.
Yeah.
To lose someone you love under such mysterious circumstances,
Yeah.
and then to never have the closure of finding their remains.
Right.
It's a pain that's hard to fathom.
It speaks to the enduring power of hope.
Right.
And that profound need for closure in the face of such unimaginable loss.
Yeah.
Jennifer's family and friends have shown remarkable resilience and strength throughout this ordeal.
Their dedication to finding Jennifer is inspiring, but with no physical evidence.
Yeah.
The key suspect deceased, are there any avenues left to explore in this case? Are there any lingering questions that could potentially lead to answers?
There are always questions that linger in a case like this.
Yeah.
The specifics of how Jennifer was killed, where her remains were disposed of,
Right.
and whether anyone else was involved.
Right.
These remain open questions.
Yeah.
While it's unlikely that charges will be brought against anyone else at this point,
Right.
the investigation could be reopened if new evidence emerges.
It's a glimmer of hope, however faint, that someday the full truth might be revealed.
Right.
But even if those answers never come true, Jennifer Dulos' story serves as a powerful reminder about the darker side of human nature and the devastating consequences of domestic violence.
You're right. This case highlights the importance of recognizing the signs of abuse,
Yeah.
supporting victims, and holding perpetrators accountable.
Yeah.
Jennifer's tragic story underscores the urgent need for greater awareness, prevention, and intervention in cases of domestic violence.
It's a call to action for all of us to be more vigilant, more compassionate. Yeah. And more proactive in creating a world where such tragedies are less likely to occur. Jennifer Dulos may be gone, but her story will continue to inspire efforts to prevent violence and support victims.
It's a legacy that honors her memory and gives meaning to her tragic loss.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the Jennifer Dulos case.
Of course.
It's a story that reminds us that even in the most idyllic settings, darkness can lurk beneath the surface.
It's true.
And it's a story that compels us to be more aware, more compassionate, and more committed to creating a world where justice prevails and violence is no longer tolerated.
Absolutely.
Don't forget to follow and subscribe to CrimePod Castle and our YouTube channel to stay updated on future episodes. Until next time, stay safe, stay vigilant, and keep seeking the truth.